All right, watch this short video and I'm going to teach you how to become an online fitness coach. I've been in this industry for 13 years now, 5 of those on the gym floor, and I know exactly how that ceiling feels, capped income, being on the gym floor, and ultimately having to sacrifice freedom in order to make more money. After that, I went online, scaled my fitness business to 6 figures. A little bit of time went past, did various other things, got really passionate about business, market, and scale. And since then, I've worked with 75 coaches as a one-to-one growth partner. After that, I went online as an online fitness coach, scaled that to 6 figures, did that for a little while. And ultimately, I just got really passionate about business, marketing, and sales, to be honest. So I love the coaching model. I still wanted to help people. I just pivoted a little bit, started helping personal trainers, and then scaled that up. Now, in the last year, we've done over 3.5 million in revenue for our clients. And we've scaled people from as low as 0 all the way up to 350K per month. And by the end of this video, you'll know 3 things that dictate whether you'll actually make it as an online coach or if you'll still be working on the gym floor wondering what went wrong. So let's get into it. So right now, you're probably a personal trainer and you're good at it as well, right? You show up early, you stay late, you get people great results, and that's the annoying part. But at some point, you had a thought of, I should take this online, right? More freedom, more income, not being stuck in the gym from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the same building, session after session, dealing with cancellations. Don't get me wrong, when I first became a PT, I was so pumped for it. I thought it was so cool. And then after doing it for a few years, I realized I can't really be doing this for the rest of my life. There's other things out there. I don't live to work. It's the opposite way around. And don't get me wrong, I love helping people, but I don't want my whole life to revolve around that. So here's what happens when most personal trainers try to go online. They open an Instagram app, they put personal trainer or online fitness coach in their bio, post some motivational quotes, maybe some like tips and tricks in the gym, form videos, what I eat in a day, and they just post. Maybe they post once a day, and then they just wait. A few likes, maybe some followers, but no clients. So naturally they panic. They start thinking, maybe I'm charging too much. Maybe it's my content. Maybe it's the strategy I'm doing. Maybe I'm just not working hard enough. So you're putting in all this work, changing this, changing that. Your focus is in 10 different places and you're wondering why your business isn't able to scale. And naturally, you just try and copy what all the other coaches are doing. You think they look successful. They might look successful on the surface, but most of them are not. However, at this stage, it's very easy to fall into that trap of thinking someone is more successful than they actually are. So then this creates like a little feedback loop, a little flywheel where you unintentionally become what I call a coach clone, which is not an insult, by the way. Most of these people are actually great coaches. The problem is they're indistinguishable from everyone else. So that's why I call them that. Same content, same offer, same everything. And then they fall into this belief of, oh, there's too much competition or the market is saturated, which couldn't be further from the truth. So here's the actual fix, right? And it's more simple than people want it to be, right? It's that you need to stop trying to please everyone and thinking that you can help everyone. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? It's like someone who needs to lose weight and I'm just telling you to eat less and move more, right? But it's true, right? And a lot of coaches think that they're going to narrow their potential client base by niching down, and they're going to prevent people from potentially coming into the program, but it actually has the opposite effect. What you're doing is when the right person comes along and they see your content, they see your vague bio and everything like that, they actually assume that you're not the right fit for them. And in 2026, especially after even 2020, when there was a big influx in online coaches and the demand for it as well, is that people have the luxury of choice online, right? There are a few searches away from finding someone who specializes in the exact outcome that they want. So you can see how by you being generic and basically competing against all these accounts with like tons of followers and whatnot, that you're shooting yourself in the foot there. You're not positioning yourself as the superior option because you're too broad and you're trying to please everyone. So when someone comes in who's actually a good fit, maybe they watch one piece of content, which is great. The next one doesn't hit at all because it's just completely irrelevant to them. And when this happens enough time, they just go looking for a better solution. So to be honest, that is step one, is you need to take a step back and figure out who is the person who's actually going to resonate with you the most. based on your expertise, based on your background, your story, who you find most fun to coach, and things like that. And actually figure out, okay, what's the one transformation that I can actually confidently get them to? And you can charge a premium price for it. And once you know who you're talking to, the next question is money. So how much are you going to charge? And how many people do you actually need to onboard per month and retain in order to reach your monetary goal? Now, I know it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, right? 10K per month. Let's say you live down south in London or in a big city in America. By the time you pay tax, bills, and living expenses, you really don't have that much money left. Are you going to be comfortable compared to the average person? Yeah. But you're going to have a little bit of money to save and put aside, or even treat yourself to a bit of lifestyle inflation. But 10K is the amount where you've actually got something real here. You've got proof of concept. You've got all your systems in the business running effectively. You've got enough people saying yes to your content, to following you, to having a conversation, to hopping on a call with you, and ultimately to becoming a client. That right there is called product market fit. And that's basically what you're trying to find. However, you don't want to fall in the trap of pricing your program too low. But the problem is, it just comes back to this. I just want to help people. I just want to be affordable mentality. And they think charging a premium price is somehow greedy. So they price low to be affordable or to be fair. Whatever story that they've been told or told by other people who most likely aren't really successful. It's just like another person in the gym. But no one talks about what happens behind the scenes when you're selling a one-to-one coaching program for low ticket prices. Let's say you're charging a couple $100 per month. How many conversations are you going to have to reach 10K per month? How many sales calls are you going to have? How many onboarding calls? How many client check-ins? Like, I call this operational drag, which is basically the workload that is associated and comes with generating and fulfilling on the revenue. So that's a lot of work for 10K per month, right? You're going to need a lot of clients. And this is why people get bogged down, because at the start, it feels logical to charge less, right? I'm going to get more clients, blah, blah, blah. But it only hits you in the face like when you actually start to scale a little bit. The problem is, by this point, you've already got all these clients, right? You can't just fire them all. So now you're in a bit of a trap, right? A trap that you've put yourself into instead of thinking a bit more long-term about what the business actually needs. And ultimately, I know you want to help people, but a strong, healthy, and successful business is the thing that's going to facilitate you being able to help people at scale. That's what a lot of people don't realize. They associate thinking too deep into the business side of things. They associate with money and greed, as opposed to, no, actually this business is mission driven, but it has to be a healthy business. It has to be scalable. It has to have good margins so I can actually have the cash flow in order to help more people and hire people and delegate and actually grow it. So pricing low is not the humble option. It's just the one that caps how many people you can actually help long before you run out of demand. And then you're just going to run into problems. So let's just do the math here with a price that I have the data on, right? So it's not greed, it's logical. And that is a 3K program, right? I've got plenty of clients with very healthy close rates, right? Based on their offer, their positioning, how we've engineered their business, how we've designed the buyer's journey, all the psychological triggers. We've basically optimized all these things so that they actually can sell 3K programs. And these are to Genpot, by the way, not like entrepreneurs or CEOs or anything like that. So a 3K program, right? You need 4 clients to hit 10K per month, not 40, 4. So if we now think downstream a little bit, how many calls is that per month, right? I don't know, 12 to 15. And let's assume that your positioning and offer is in a good place. You've cracked your messaging. Your ecosystem is engineered in the right way. So that's what, 3 calls per week? Realistically, 3 calls is not that much at all. Like a sales call is quite hard to acquire in the first place. Think how many clients you're going to need if you're charging like $200 per month to get to 10K per month. Whereas if you would just design the business properly in the first place so that you actually had the ability to charge for a 3K program, now you will need three calls per week in order to close those 4 people at a 30% close rate. So instead of chasing volume, your mission should just be to attract the right people in the first place who feel deeply understood by your content, who are the perfect fit. And then it's a case of just 2 to 3 conversations per day, qualified conversations per day. So it's just a case of you attracting the right people and actually reaching out and talking to them. So now you've got your one person, one offer, and your pricing sorted. Now we need to discuss the thing that people probably ask me most about, which is how do you actually get the booked calls? A lot of people think that they need ads or cold DMs, and I can eliminate those both for you now, most likely. Ads, for one, probably not a good fit for 90% of coaches. The way to think of ads is it's a scaling tool, not a building tool. So if you just try and pour fuel on a fire that isn't burning, nothing's going to happen. Whereas if you pour fuel on a fire that is burning, it's going to amplify it. So you basically need to get yourself into a position where you find product market fit. You are making good money, like 5 to 10K per month, and you know that all the systems in your business, if Meta were just to give you more eyeballs and push people into the system, that you would be able to convert those people. The problem is people are running ads without this proof of concept yet. So they end up burning a lot of money and not seeing any returns from it. And let's talk about cold DMs. For a fitness offer is utterly stupid. I'm sorry. You're not a B2B company. You're not a service, right? People have to actually do the work to get the result. In B2B, it's very logical. It's based around numbers. The offer either makes sense for the business or it doesn't. With a service, let's say mowing grass, cleaning gutters, you knock on the door, you say, hey, I'll do this for this amount of money. I'll save you time and effort. Yeah, it makes sense. Cool. With a fitness offer, people have to be in the right emotional state. They have to see you as the leader, put trust in you, have that emotional connections, be in the right headspace at the right time. And sometimes that's a process, right? And can all be done through your content. But for example, you wouldn't go around knocking on $50 asking if they want to lose weight. You wouldn't do it, would you? So why would you do that? Because there's a screen between you. So really, any business coaches that are still promoting cold DMs for fitness offers in 2026, yeah, red flag, you need to stay away from them. So let's talk about what actually works. And it's the same thing I built with coach after coach at this point. And to be honest, it's still pretty untapped. And that's the first thing is long form content, which is YouTube. Now, if you think about this logically, right? Stranger to client, that's what we're trying to do. That's a process. Only 3% of people who find you will actually be ready to buy in the moment. The other 97% we need to do what I call to nurture them, right? Which is touch points, which is education, which is watch time, which is shifting beliefs, which is having them adopt the mindset in order to take action, all these different things. And that's on top of just making sure that you are the right person and the right coach for them in the first place. But if all these things come together and you give it enough time, then you are going to handle all the psychological triggers in order to put them in a position where they are likely to become a client. So why I love YouTube is because it's so leveraged. You can make a 30-minute video, right? That's the equivalent watch time of 30 reels. How long would it take you to make 30 reels? Definitely more than half an hour for sure. But there's also differences as well. Like when people watch reels, it's usually one video in the doom scrolling session. So how long is that reel really in their brain for, right? It's probably gone within a minute. Whereas YouTube, you're accumulating a lot of real estate in their brain because it's one of those things where if they decide to watch the video, it's okay, I'm going to grab a coffee, sit down and watch this. So if you think about if they watch 30 reels in a 30-day time span, yes, that's more touch points, but I would say with a YouTube video, it's going to be more memorable as opposed to just knowing who you are, seeing you now and again versus actually watching one of your videos the whole way through. And so it's more leveraged. You can harvest more watch time and you can actually build more of a connection with the person. So what I've found from people that have booked calls with me is sometimes they say, that they just watched 2 or 3 videos and then they booked a call and then they became a client. The length of time it actually takes someone to lead to close time, right? Which is the amount of time it takes from a stranger, like becoming a lead to becoming a client. YouTube is the absolute king for that. But what we want to do is we don't want to neglect Instagram either. They work in sync together. You've got Instagram as like a main traffic mechanism because short form content is easier to get more views. You can just pump out more volume, test different things quicker, find what works and double down on it. And then what you can do is you can use your Instagram profile as like a main hub, like a website. There's loads of different features. Obviously, you can DM people. That's one thing. You can intercept them while they're still hot and while they're still aware of why they followed you in the first place. We've got Instagram stories, which you can show behind the scenes, call to actions, lots of touch points on there. It's very easy to post a story. And then obviously you've got your feed posts, you've got the link in bio, you've got the story highlights, you've got pin posts. This is all real estate in order to win their trust, basically. You can have social proof in there. We can be directing people to YouTube to harvest more watch time. So that's kind of how it works. Like Instagram's like your top of funnel, middle of funnel, and then YouTube is further down. So we attract them at the top, and then we want to push them down to YouTube because that's where ultimately they're going to book a call. But we are proactively reaching out to people as well to book people in manually as well. So when you crack that, you can replace cold DMs with warm DMs, which is where you only message people if they've previously shown interest. And a little difference between Instagram and YouTube as well. And this is not like one's better than the other. It's just they play completely separate roles. There's pros and cons. But what I like about YouTube is the videos are compounding assets. So Instagram has this like 3-day period where the views will go up. Instagram will test it to different pools of people. And if it wins, it'll keep scaling. If it doesn't, which is going to be 90% of your videos, it'll even out at the 3-day mark. You won't really get many views past that point unless someone comes onto your profile. But with YouTube, it's more of like a compounding asset, and it can serve you for a long time, mainly because of the way buyer behavior, like YouTube behavior, a user behavior is like, it's a lot more search based. So really that's kind of part of the strategy is we're trying to find people or attract people who are looking to solve a problem. And that's why YouTube leads are much better, because they're in that state of mind as opposed to I want to be entertained or relaxed state of mind, which is usually people on short form content. So videos, you post it once. And something that happened with me is I was consistently getting more views on a video month after month for about a year. And this one video was booking me calls consistently, like not tons, but it was booking me calls every month for a good year. So it really is a compounding asset. So the more good videos that you have on YouTube, the bigger little universe you can create for yourself where people can find you from different angles, different keywords and whatnot. So eventually you'll capitalize on all the keywords relating to your transformation. Then you've just got this asset and this presence on YouTube, hours and hours of content for people to nurture. And all you're going to do is just have your book a call to action in every description. You'll also have your Instagram in there as well. So sometimes people won't book a call straight away. They might want to check you out on Instagram. They follow you. And I used to say, I'm just curious, where did you find my profile? And a lot of them said YouTube. And then I'd go through the appointment setting process and book them onto a call manually. So you're giving people two options there as a way to take action, both very valuable options. Because if they book a call, obviously that's great. Those leads are going to be very easy to close, especially if they've watched lots of your videos. But if they come through Instagram, it's giving you an opportunity to reach out to them on the same day, have that conversation and book them in manually. Now, another thing I want to cover is how people, even in 2026, coaches are still obsessed with needing a website. It's very outdated and it's completely unnecessary. Something we use instead, which is a more of a value-driven approach, is we use what's called a Trojan horse VS. And what this is, it's basically a free training video or guide. Think of it like that. It might be 30 to 60 minutes long, where you're taking the whole transformation and you're taking a case study. It might be yourself or it might be a client, and you're just breaking down exactly how they got the result. So you'll have an intro, maybe a little background about yourself, explain who the video is for and who it's not for. You'll handle limiting beliefs. Then you'll give them the full breakdown of how you actually did it from A to B. So you're giving them a ton of information. And remember, you're not selling the information, you're selling the implementation. So you can give as much information away as you want, to be honest. And by the end, you just give them an offer, right, to book a call. So you've given them all this value up front, which creates a lot of goodwill and trust. And then when you give them the offer, it just makes a lot more sense to take action in that moment because they've just spent all that time watching you. So simply, we just have that in the bio. We direct people to a video, not a website. A website might sound professional, all this fancy copywriting, an inquiry form, whatever it may be, but it's outdated and people just get sales resistance immediately as soon as they enter a website. Not only that, but people get analysis paralysis when there's too many buttons to click, there's too much text, there's too many options, there's too many things to choose from. So a video is much better and the conversion rate is much higher, we find. And so having those two paths, YouTube and Instagram, means that no one's slipping through the cracks, because when we're reaching out to people on Instagram, we're reaching out to everyone and we're tracking every single lead and we know exactly where they are in the pipeline so we can nurture them over time. And with YouTube, it's just only a matter of time if they're the right fit until they book a call. So you can really scale. If you scale your content and your YouTube starts to pop off a little bit and your Instagram starts to do quite well, you're never going to have to worry about leads ever again. You just have to worry about nurturing and following up with leads in your pipeline. That's it. So just to recap, if you weren't taking notes, pick one person, pick one transformation. Your whole business should revolve around their needs. That's it. If you're generic, you're going to get washed out by the sea of coach clones. 2 is do the math. Like, what's your pricing? What's your goal? Reverse engineer it. Know exactly how many calls you need to book per month and per week, how many qualified conversations you need to actually be having. Your booking rate should be about 20 to 30%. If you get a qualified person in the DMs, 20 to 30% of those, you should be able to get onto a call. And ultimately, if your content is super niche down, you should be aiming for, like, the gold standard is converting 10% of those qualified people, like right from the top, from follower to book call, 10% of those. No, from the very top to become a client, 10% of those into a client. That's kind of the gold standard that you should be aiming for. And just making sure that you're building your content and DM system around attraction, not chasing, right? Not coming across as desperate. Just giving away so much value that people come to you, because the last thing you want to be doing is chasing people in the cold strangers who you don't even know, asking them if they want to join your program. Can you not see how that's like very bottom of the barrel way to run your business? It's not fun. I don't recommend it. So if you get those things in the correct order and you find what works and you start to scale it, then what you'll find is things start to become a lot more predictable and you're no longer taking a gamble, right? Messaging 100 cold people and hoping that a few book a call. You'll start to see the metrics, right? How much revenue you're generating per follower, how many followers you need to book this amount of calls and to get a client, things like that. But if you want help like mapping out this whole process for your situation, everyone's different, then this is what I do all day, every day, right? I fucking love it. So if you want, you can book a one-to-one growth audit below and we'll come up with a 30-day game plan for you if you are qualified. And yeah, at the very least, you'll get that. You'll get clarity and I'll point you in the right direction, even if we don't walk together or not. So yeah, all the best and talk soon. Bye-bye.